And hello, welcome everyone to Tuesday, April 1st, 2025. Let me make sure you can hear me, and we'll be moving on in. There you go, to the show. So, God bless. And hey, everybody, uh, there's something on your face. There's something. Take a look. You got something right here. April Fools. All right. So, okay, enough of that. We're done with it. Let's move on. Welcome in, everyone. Let me say hello to those who are here, and we'll be talking. Let's see. We got Amy's here. What up, Amy? Amy, God bless Amy. Thanks for being here. Let's see. I'm managing two chats at once over here, trying to not drop anything. Okay. Mark Ellis. Welcome in, Mark Ellis, number two. Commenter number two, Mark Ellis. Welcome in. And Debbie Packer, welcome in. Jojo, welcome in, Jojo. I hope you're back. All right, Nicole Watt. Wow, look at that dog. What a monster. I love it. Don McKenzie, hello. Brenda Mays. Mays. Deb. Hello, Deb. We got Crazy Girl 1203, welcome in. Blessings galore. Ricardo 2. Stephanie. Sweet Dude Shibby, welcome in. Welcome into Heavy Metal Rehab and India Nan and Marie Kelly, Rebecca Ann 1965. Tracy Fleetwood, welcome. right. Fur baby daddy, welcome. Shibby thinks I went to the casino too and won $200. Well, hey, good job, Fur baby daddy. All right, congrats. Mrs. P, hello to you. Okay. EWTN, what's up? Say what? Hello to you. All right, we're going to say hello to Lena. Also, Oleg Katz here. Court of Public Opinion reminds everyone to subscribe and like. You know the YouTube deal. People beg you for. Do that. All right, Gretchen Allen, welcome in. All right. What else we got here? I watched the train guy video. Okay, good job. Didn't know who the guy was telling the story because his identity is being withheld. But I hope you watched it, and I hope you know that he's telling the truth, that he took the train in June of 2017 and had that experience. Right, Tracy Fleetwood. Let's see. Lena says hello, Amy, Deb, and Shibby. All right. Niobe's here. What up, Niobe? All right, we got. I thought this was an April Fool's joke. Oh, it will be, I'm sure. Okay, let's see. JJ Falk Jr., welcome. I'm here. Thanks for coming in. Rhonda Holton, thanks for coming in. All right, Streets of Bakersfield. Kate Yu. Michael Lewis, welcome. Rivera, 1127. 5 Green Acres. Plain Iron, welcome. All right. And who else we got in here? Moonbeam 70s Child, welcome in. What's up? Lawyer's Daughter, welcome in, Lawyer's Daughter. And Laura Naran, welcome. Carly Johnson, 55, welcome in. Dieter, welcome in. I don't have all day. Welcome in. All right. Just me working on taxes. You're late. All right. So, Oakhaven Days, welcome. Just when I think I have everyone, I realize I don't. Chester, 22. All right. And Digital, boom. One of my favorites, longtime listener, Digital, finally coming in. Don't mean to put you on blast, but boom. All right. We ended with a bang. So, welcome in, everyone. I appreciate you having you here. And tonight's show will be a review of Andrea Burkhart's coverage of the trial of Richard Allen, episode 2. So, last night, I think we covered 20 pages of notes from Andrea's coverage of the trial of Richard Allen. I think it got us through the first 2 days of trial and the preceding 3 days of jury selection and hearings. So apparently we've gotten through a total of 5 days, I believe. So we'll be getting into a few, probably another handful of days tonight. Wow, it's just so much to say here. I never know when to start or stop. Heavy Metal Rehab says she went through an obscene amount of notebooks. Yes, and mechanical pencils or whatever she uses. Okay. Nancy Drew 101, what up? Okay. Making me a taco. Don't get Shibby started, please. All right. So, yeah, Andrea Burkhart's coverage of the trial of Richard Allen, which I must say was the most comprehensive, accurate, and thorough coverage. Okay, which is why I chose to access her coverage because, like I mentioned last night, with a complete and total blackout on this trial, we have no other recourse. You know, the only option we have is to go to someone who actually went and sat in the courtroom and took notes. And although there are several, there's no one like Andrea. I mean, everyone else had their own faults, biases, and narrative pushing to do. So, to that effect, we're stuck with Andrea's coverage, and that's not a bad thing because I think she did a really excellent, as I said last night, exemplary job of covering the trial, the best to the best of her ability. She did miss one of the days, and I mentioned last night that I went ahead and decided I would lean on Caitlin Kendall for that particular day that was missed because Caitlin did make it, and I guess she was also uh, pretty good at it, and so it's like Caitlin Kendall's is got a 1/10 of the verbiage uh, that Andrea used to cover the trial, but that's what it is. Okay, so let's see. I appreciate the time you've put in. I've learned so much. I used to live in Indianapolis, and these issues are freaky. There needs to be protection from to prevent this from happening. Yeah, and you know what I've said? I've said we need an Allen's law. Okay, my call to all activists, all attorneys, and all elected officials is we need an Allen's law saying that you can never take an individual and detain them in a max security prison and torture and abuse them in an ongoing manner in order to coerce confessions out of them while under a forced medicated state, uh, being treated by an obsessed fangirl doctor. You get what I'm saying? We need an Allen's law that this can never happen to anyone. And for those who say, I don't care about Richard Allen, I don't care about these attorneys, I don't care about anything about this trial, blah, 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 blah. Listen, who else has sat here for hundreds and thousands of hours, okay, and done what? Have I not read through every single filing multiple times? Come on. People say what they want to hear. What do you think about Nick's recent interview? I'm not going to talk about it. I don't even know why you're discussing it. Okay. Consider the source, is what I say. Absolutely. And I thought it was pretty fair coverage, not skewed. Okay. I was totally amazed by her recap. I attended the trial. It was definitely spot on. Hey, thanks for letting us know that. Moonbeam 70s child. I'm interested in your attendance of the trial, if you'd like to share anything. But yes, thanks for confirming that because I had several friends in attendance and was receiving regular updates from them. And upon reviewing all the coverage, I realized that Andrea was the most accurate, the most balanced, and also the most extended. You know, I think the 6, 7 hour live streams are a bit much for people to take. I mean, it's even a lot for people to take a 3 hour live stream. What's up, Vigilante for Justice? Thanks and thanks for coming in and welcome. Um, all right, Rebecca's going to stop reading Shibby's comments. Lawyer Lee did a decent job. I thought she did a good job of remaining neutral. Mm, I would say Lawyer Lee did a less good job than um, than Andrea, but I would say also did a good job. Yes, I'm not going to argue that. Hey, Diana. Diana's coming in. What's up, Diana? Thanks for coming in. All right. You guys got wind and storms. Hey, we got snow. We got snow today. And it's snowing now, as a matter of fact. If I look out the window there, I'm looking out the window. There's a tad bit daylight left, and it is definitely snowing. Um, so it's been snowing a few hours here. Thought we were done with it for the year, but guess not. Eliana Davidson, welcome in. Deborah, hello, Deborah, welcome in. Welcome to everyone. All right. Just one day Doug Carter testified and also just viewed Allen's treatment, including when he was hooded. Were you able to see any of that video, Moonbeam? All right. All right. Yeah. So I tend to be a little mean, like I tell people. But hey, why not? Why not push the limits of accepted speech? I mean, do you want less speech, or do you want more? All right. So I'm so glad to have everyone in here. Look like we're good. Um, so that's what's up. Okay, that's what's up. Now, look, let me say this. For all of you who may be on the small channel, and the small channel is called the Prof True Crime, please go over and subscribe to the big channel, which is called the Prof. And then, likewise, if you're on the big channel, which is called the Prof, please go over and subscribe to the Prof True Crime. We're trying to up our numbers. And listen, we are about to hit that 5,000 subs mark. Okay. And so I'm very excited about that. I want to hit the 5,000 subs, and that would be nice. And on the backup channel, I don't know, we've got like another number that I can't recall off the top of my head, 2,600. So I'm trying to even out the subscribers on both channels. So thanks for doing that. And welcome into anyone coming in late. Okay. Appreciate it. And also uh, be aware that if you do subscribe to both channels, I do different community pages. So the reason to be on both channels is that both have different community pages with different content. So oftentimes I'll post something on the one that's not on the other. So if you want to be tuned into my community pages, uh, check out both channels. So that's enough. Okay. So let's get into it. Okay. So we're going to get on back into the coverage of the trial, and we're coming in, I believe, about the end of day 5, and we'll be moving into day 6, uh, which means in totality, including the jury selection and the preliminary motions and limine and all that. Now, listen, uh, I want to say that tonight's show, it's important to understand, like, we're all about the love here, right? We're all about coming together as a community, recognizing each other's strengths and appreciating each other for their strengths and their unique perspectives, what we all bring to the table. And so I'm so glad to have you all here. And listen, I know there's a lot of terrorizing that goes on in this case. I mean, let's be honest here. There's an entire troll farm that's been active for several years with the sole intention of causing division, hate, chaos, and confusion on this case, and pretty much running people off and terrorizing people, causing them to shut up. And don't get it twisted. They even go for the viewers. So if you happen to be a viewer who's just in the chat or in the comment section, they'll go for you too. But with all that being said, we should try that much harder to come together and to have a good time and to all be a big old family. Okay, so that's my point here is that despite the chaos agents, this is all about the love. So please enjoy yourself. I want you to do that. I'll try to read through this and keep the commentary to a minimum. I know last night I went a little nuts. Okay, so I ended up talking more than reading. So I'll try to flip that over tonight and do a lot more reading than talking. So, with that being said, welcome in everyone. I so appreciate the fact that you're here. Please enjoy the live chat and let's go ahead and immerse ourselves back into the trial against Richard Allen because we need to have a good grasp on what actually occurred. And there's so much to remember. It's information dense, it's hard to keep at the forefront of our minds. So, I thought this would be a good idea to do. So realize coming in that we'll be we'll be starting on about the second or third day of trial proper. So, so we're still very early in the trial. So let's get into it tonight, and we'll have that good time, okay, to do so. And I want to say hello to those coming in. I see that Dan Jones came in late. What's up, Dan Jones? Okay, Mary Martin came in late. What's up, Mary Martin? And we had I don't know who else. Thought I saw another couple names come in late. Miss Pie Crust. Who knows who else? Nicole Watts. Okay, so everyone coming in, please get comfy, enjoy. Okay, we'll be getting into this. Let's do it. Oh, what up? Four Pits coming in late. There he is. There he is. Now let's go. Now, what are we doing here? Let's see. I got to zoom it on in. What are we looking at here? That was a page we finished with yesterday. So we'll be turning the page, moving on into it. Okay, let's do it. Boom. There you go. Okay, day six. So day six, and by that, like I said, she means actually day three because she's counting the first 3 days of preliminary jury selection and all that stuff. So here we go. It says day six of the trial focused on the crime scene. The speaker filed a motion requesting audio recordings of the hearings, criticizing the chaotic nature of the proceedings and the difficulty in accessing information. So you remember that. I've shared it with you before in this channel. Remember, we've gone through everything. So we did cover Burkhart's, what was it called? A writ of mandamus or something that she she did file a motion requesting audio recordings in with the goal of transparency in lieu of having cameras in the courtroom. But of course, you know, she was denied. Of course, it was denied. But you all may remember that Andrea used her own time and money to file that to try to get us recordings of the trial, but it didn't happen. Okay. Uh, Apparently, she said she was on 36 hours without sleep. Oh, here's another thing I wanted to say. Okay, I thought of this today. I thought of this. I thought, you know what the real blessing was in all of this with Burkhart? It was the trial line sitters. Okay, it was the line sitters. So you may remember that she had line sitters. And she even posted a photo of a dinner she had at the end of it all with the group of line sitters. You know, that photo really struck me because it was, I don't know, I would say 8 to 14 people. It was a bunch of people. And it really touched me and it made me think how much of a group effort it was. So if you think about this, right, you look at Andrea's channel where she just did the 6 hour live streams every day, blah, 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 blah. And you kind of think it's a one person thing. But if you really consider that she had all those line sitters, that entire group, it was a group effort. Okay. It wasn't just one lady's effort. This was an effort of, I don't know, 12 to 15 people. So, so it's important to remember how much went into this and how ridiculous it is that that was all necessary um, because of the lack of transparency. And listen, that lack of transparency continues to this day. We still don't have transcripts. You know, not having transcripts at this point, I believe, is odd. It's an abnormality. We don't have transcripts. We don't have exhibits. We don't have recordings, obviously. Um, Total blackout on this trial. So thank goodness for the line sitters and the attendees. Okay. And maybe hopefully Someday we may get transcripts. We might get exhibits, but who knows? I mean, this is a cover up, a berry job after all. So let's continue. All right. It says that she was on 36 hours without sleep, though. That's pretty interesting. That's a dedication, you know? The court session involved exhibit after exhibit with limited detailed testimony. Rosie wore an orange tie. Who cares? A deputy described arriving at the scene and finding the bodies of both deceased girls. One girl was nude, one girl was clothed. Both girls had large lacerations on their throat. There was a substantial amount of blood on the bodies and in the area. A deputy, or this deputy, secured the scene, ensuring a large perimeter. The scene obviously could be accessed by crossing the water, but again, I believe that those are all narrative points of the these are all narrative points of the state's theory of the crime that I don't agree with. You know, the crossing of the water just seems unlikely to me. Um, anyway, let's see. The deputy stayed at his post overnight until relieved the next day, and no one crossed the creek or used the driveway. Law enforcement witnesses were asked if they were carrying a firearm and what firearm they were carrying. Yeah, it's pretty important. The deputy was carrying a Glock 17 9mm. The department had recently switched to this weapon. Mr. Baldwin emphasized the steepness of the area where the disturbance was noted, suggesting the need to use hands to hold onto trees and a high risk of falling. Yes, that's what I'm talking about regarding the. You're not going down the hill easily from that south end of the bridge where they tell you down the hill happened. It ain't happening. Okay. Now let's see what else we got here. Libby's sleeves were pulled down to inspect her hands, which were pristine. No dirt or blood. No, 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 no. This must have been a misstatement. Those would have been Abby's sleeves. Her torso was also pristine and clean. Abby had a little dirt, leaf, twig debris on her foot as her shoe was partially off. The cause of death was expected to be throat injuries and massive loss of blood, suffocation. Speaker noted that they would have expected substantially more blood at the outdoor scene given the nature of the injuries and the non-absorbent ground. Okay, regarding Abby. Okay, let's continue. The state is focused on the largest blood spot between and slightly above the girl's feet. Yes, and remember, I said that that's interesting because that particular pooling of blood had a figuration of sticks, which I would call a bind rune or a rune, which identically matched the one on Abby's body, which is very alarming and no one ever seems to speak about. A crime scene investigator had no estimate or opinion on the time of death. Mr. Razi asked about scavengers in the area, raccoons, coyotes, buzzards, to suggest potential activity if the bodies were there overnight. Okay. A bullet was found between the girls at a 45-degree angle with the head stamp showing. Of course, no photos were taken of the bullet as it was removed from the ground. Perfectly normal, right? The defense emphasized that the bullet should have been photographed or videotaped during removal to ensure a good record. Witnesses stated that the lab handles detailed documentation of evidence condition. The defense is trying to raise questions about the integrity of the bullet evidence, right? A trooper, Page, recommended bringing in a blood spatter expert based on the stain on the F tree, suggesting it might have been intentional. Okay, that's a good point. Okay. Um, I want to stop there because there's some things that bother me about this. First of all, I think calling it the F tree, we should probably stop. Um, the more I've looked at it, at that photo, and really examined that photo and thought about it, for my purposes, I think it's much more accurate to call it an upside down L. You know, it's an upside down L. It's not an F. I think it appears as an F because of bad lighting, but if you play with the exposure and the contrast in the photo, um, and try to get it to reveal itself, it looks much more like an upside down L to me. Um, Now, what's funny is that they want you to believe that it's an accidental mark from the bloody hand of the victim, which is absolutely insanity. This mark appears to me to be painted on intentionally, right? It has a very incredibly distinct right angle, making it appear to be an L, not an F. It's an L. Okay. But either an F or an L, both still retain that crisp right angle. No blood spatter in the world gonna cause that to happen. Okay. So the fact that the state tried to say that it's blood spatter and that in the processing of the crime scene, they did not reference or use a blood spatter expert is bewildering to me. I can't understand. If you have something so alarming, why would you just leave it uh, and not have a blood spatter expert take a good look at it? And honestly, the same thing goes to the sticks that were on the bodies and on this pool of blood. How odd is it to you all that those sticks were not immediately connected and swabbed for DNA? Right, continuing, let's see. Blood spatter analysis did not occur until the spring before trial. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine? And and you're going to do blood spatter analysis by photograph? I mean, come on, man. It's atrocious the way that the facts were twisted in this entire thing. It's been a depressing thing. You know, it's depressing, honestly. The only reason, like I said, we're here for each other, so I'm coming here for each other. But this whole thing, who the hell wants to ever talk about this again? I mean, this is depressing. Yeah, blood spatter analysis didn't happen until last spring. Wow. Mr. Rosie questioned a witness about how long DNA testing takes, with the witness being uncooperative and evasive. I wonder who that was. See, we'll have to go back and listen to Andrea's day 6, what she's calling day 6. Okay. I wonder about that combative, uncooperative, and evasive witness. The bare spot in the diagram was not where the cartridge was found. The cartridge was found between the girls under some leaves. A skilled photographer took some of the crime scene photos using techniques to minimize shadows. Other photos were not as high quality. Many of the state's objections were sustained. As I've constantly said, how big of a surprise is that? Listen, for all of you who were here throughout all of the pretrial hearings going back 2 years, you may recall, especially if you read the transcripts, trust me, read all the transcripts you can read. And one thing's you're going to start to notice a little pattern, and that's going to be that almost every objection, like I said, okay, McClelland, he has this habit of flailing his arms and wildly objecting to absolutely everything. Okay, so everything that happened in the courtroom, every time the defense presented or said anything, McClelland's object, 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 like he's losing his mind. And almost every single time, 9 times out of 10, the judge sustain, 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 sustain. That's not the appearance of bias. Um, and then it was inverse with the defense. You know, the defense would periodically objection, denied, denied, denied. Anyway, okay. Let's see. No detailed ground layout or elevation map was done. Imagine that. Imagine that. All right. You had a helicopter pilot take aerial photos of the scene. He was not carrying a firearm. This was the gentleman who wasn't wearing eye protection during ALS testing and identified the cartridge. The location of the bullet was not consistent with some rumors. What? Sticks were found at the scene, but it wasn't clear to the ISP if they had evidentiary value. So they weren't collected. See, that this is the AI not getting the story straight. No, they were collected at some point, but they were not immediately connected or collected. Now, this is something infuriating to me. A partial shoe impression was found near the soil disturbance, but in the witness's view, none of the shoe impressions had evidentiary value due to a lack of individual wear characteristics after potential contamination from the search. Yeah, but let me ask you this. If you had one of the searchers who was one of the cover uppers of the crime, and if they were also law enforcement, and if they took a stick or their foot and disturbed all of the footprints that existed in order to help cover up the crime, just like they might have taken DNA and destroyed it by putting it in a microwave or contaminating it, whatever. It's my speculation that someone on the inside contaminated and destroyed a lot of evidence. All right. So When you come to the partial shoe impression and other shoe impressions, it's probably what happened. It says Mr. Baldwin got concessions that photographing the bullet would have been wise. Yeah, no poop poo, right? The witness emphasized packing evidence quickly to prevent damage, leaving detailed documentation to the lab. Yeah, but like I said, you have no recording from Dan Doolin talking with Richard Allen, where normally that's what he would have done. You have no recorded interviews in the first 6 days of the investigation, and another, what, 60, I don't know, or 70, no, 62, 64. Like, think of all that doesn't exist in terms of documentation. So, of course, you're not going to have documentation of that bullet being found and collected. All right, so let's keep going. The witness did not document if Abby was damp, but acknowledged it could be important. No male prints were seen in the area of the partial shoe prints. What is a male print? Male? I don't know it. I don't know what this is trying to say. The witness would not concede it was a very odd crime scene. Oh, you see these combative witnesses? Like I said, you have lying ass witnesses at the crime scene on February 13th, right? And then you have lying ass witnesses in the court of law at the trial for Richard Allen. And this witness would not concede that it was a very odd crime scene. Now, I'm sure most of you by this point have seen the crime scene photos. Would you not concede that it was a very odd crime scene? I mean, after all, you had these sticks on bodies in runic formations. You had an upside down L painted in blood on the tree. You had one of the runes formed with sticks over top of a pool of blood. One girl nude posed like the magician from the tarot deck, and another girl clothed in some mysterious, you know, conglomerate of clothing, um, possibly posed as a hangman or something. So you had the posing of the bodies with the sticks on the bodies, the painting of the L, the sticks over the pool of blood, and no one finds that to be a very odd crime scene. I mean, after all, listen, I've spoken to a detective who's very experienced and who works with the FBI, and he says, "Look, this is one of the 1%er." Okay, let me ask you that in the chat. Have you ever heard this referred to as a 1%er crime scene? Do you know what that means? It means in all that the FBI deals with, this falls under the 1% of most odd things you've ever seen crime scenes. All right, let's continue. Um, the state objected and was sustained. You think when Mr. Baldwin asked if it was weird that sticks were deliberately arranged on the bodies, why was he not allowed to ask that? Do you think it's weird that the sticks are deliberately arranged in someone's attempt to form Germanic runic script configurations on the bodies? Objection, sustained. Okay. On redirect, the witness conceded that if he had to do it over again, he would take a photo of the bullet as he pulled it out of the ground. Yeah, you don't think that would have been the right thing to do? The jury's questions indicated that they might not be buying into the defense's argument about the bullet documentation. The jury asked if there was any reason why the bullet submitted would be a different bullet. Another witness answered questions by providing completely different information than was asked. For example, giving a long description of arrival when asked for the time. Yeah. I remember Andrea's coverage of that day, actually. Yes. So every question this witness was asked, instead of answering the question, he'd go on this long, like, tirade about something else. The witness confirmed the area was a good place to hunt, which was not helpful to the state's theory about Mr. Allen leaving the bullet. The witness was specifically told no trail cameras were found, which was inconsistent with earlier testimony about someone going to collect them. This raises questions about potential missed information. They used county plat maps to identify landowners and asked about the trail cameras and hunting permissions. So no one finds that odd. No one finds any of that odd. Like, all right, let's see. No one finds it odd. You got trail cameras, you don't got them. You you got a handkerchief, which is Vinlander green, a hoodie type sweatshirt, and a footy sock found in the water. Now, I got a lot to say about the clothes in the water. We'll get to it. The FBI took these items to a drying room. Law enforcement walked around crime scene in a line to ensure nothing was missed. Oh, I bet they did before they ever allowed the bodies to be found. All right. Burkhart reiterated the importance of public access and criticized the chaos of the proceedings. Yes, and the absolute brick wall of obstruction that this judge threw up so that none of the world could understand. Like, let's be honest here. The judge wanted chaos and misunderstanding and confusion. She did not want accurate reporting. If she wanted accuracy, she would have allowed the cameras to provide that transparency and accuracy to the world. But by allowing this to be solely reported on by attendees, it's going to naturally be rife with errors because people are not good reporters of truth. Remember, people come with their own prejudices, their own perceptions, their own forgetfulness, their own mistaken or mishearing of things and things they see and hear. So when you have 15 people coming out of the courtroom, everyone's telling a different story with slight differences, and it's just utter chaos. And that's what happened during the trial. Remember? But it was all intentional. I mean, the judge wanted it. And it's very telling because half of the ones in there, or more than half of the ones in there, were bootlickers, as we call them. You know, I steal it from Snade, but he calls them bootlickers. All the bootlickers came out with their own agendas, reporting their way, right? And then you had the couple unbiased people come out and try to report, and there were places where they missed and the others missed and the others missed, and then it overlapped, and then there's conflicting statements and conflicting facts, and no one knows what's really going on. I mean, it's just like this fucking leak of this video. No one knows what's going on because it's all conflict. It's bullshit. It's intentional confusion. And it could all be cleared up very easily, which means allow transparency, give the transcripts to the people, give the evidence to the people, give the recordings of the trial to the people. You should have had the cameras active, and you should have gave the cameras to the people. Give everything to the people. I mean, are we going to do these trials under the cover of darkness, or are we going to do them out in the open as if we have nothing to hide? Anyway, this is a touchy subject for me. I get a little emotional. Anyway, Burkhart felt Abby was extremely clean, with only dirt on her foot and a lack of blood. And I agree. She wanted to see testing of the blood stain on the tree and questions the volume of blood observed at the scene. Well, I guess she found out because eventually that came out. The jury was attentive throughout the day, miraculously somehow. Andrea's notepad was about 10 to 12 pages short of full, focused on tracking exhibits. Maybe she'd be a good one to go to get an exhibit list with proper exhibit reference numbers so that we might be able to get this from this judge one day. The testimony itself was less impactful to Andrea than the exhibits that were shown, which were absolutely horrifying and gruesome. Which leads me to remind you, and we'll get there, but remember how I consistently have reminded you all that McClellan pulled a narcissistically abusive tactic in manipulating the jury in his closing statement? Do you remember? All of you there? Remember, what did he decide to do other than calling them heroes and solving their own crimes and all that? He took those extremely horrifyingly gruesome photos of those girls' bodies, and he put them right in front of the jury's faces to further traumatize them and gaslight them when he said, "See that? These girls were heroes and Rick Allen did it." But he doesn't want the world to see the crime scene photos that are not as gruesome, right? The crime scene photos that had been leaked out in the years prior, they're not as gruesome as the photos that he showed in open court. But it's okay for him to do that to the jury. But no, he doesn't want it to be seen. He doesn't want the world to see the sticks. Let's be honest here. What is it they don't want seen? They don't want the world to see the sticks on those bodies and the posing of the bodies. Let's be clear. All right, moving on. I think I'm doing it again. I'm talking too much and not reading enough. Let's see. Two witnesses evaluated cell phone extractions from Libby German's phone, or I would call it the phone that she was in possession of, clarifying some questions but raising others. Look, I got to stop the chat. You guys got sidetracked. I wasn't talking about the 1% or motorcycles, motorcycle clubbers. All right. I was talking about the 1% of crimes or crime scenes that the FBI comes across that's absolutely bizarre. Okay. And hey, I'll just go ahead and say this. Do you want to know what two of the crime scenes were that were declared to be among the 1% of the most bizarre crime scenes? I'll let you guess in the chat. You'll probably guess it right. Let's get back on track about what we're actually talking about. Yeah. The 1% of the most bizarre crime scenes ever dealt with. Boom. Lisa's my bae. What's up, Lisa? Mm-hmm. Yep. Both being 1% crime scenes. Extreme oddities. But we're going to pretend that this was just a little, CBS worker just out on a random jog doing weird things like that, fooling the FBI. Right. Let's see. All right. Moving on. All right. Judge Gold denied the speaker's motion, which was Andrea's, of course. She was grateful for help from others in taking notes. A witness. Okay, here we come with Miss Sarah. Oh, man. Oh, man. Little Miss Sarah Carbaugh gave multiple interviews with differing accounts of seeing mud and or blood on Bridge Guy. Bridge Guy. Oh my gosh. In one interview, she used the word mud 13 times, but not blood once. Though she claims she did. Of course, an hour to an hour and a half of this interview is missing. The transcript of one interview did not include the word blood at all, but she contested. And she demanded to review the transcript, and when she reviewed it, could not find it. And this happened twice, where she gave an interview and didn't say blood once. Right. But in a later interview, 2 years later in 2019, she did an interview in which she used the word blood, I believe, 16 times, only describing him as bloody and not using the word muddy once. And of course, no one finds that a bit odd. No one finds that any of that odd. Okay. Furthermore, she described the man as looking like a hog had been slaughtered due to the amount of blood. Well, funny thing, if you would describe someone as being so full of blood it looks like they had slaughtered a hog, why would you not for 2 years and under two previous interviews ever mention the word blood, not even once, but only say that he was muddy and in a tan coat, by the way, or sweater or hoodie? Her observation was brief and not an extended inspection. She was still bothered, though, and made a comment that he had effeminate eyes. Oh, was it a lesbian? Was it a man or a woman? Who did you see, Miss Sarah Carbaugh? Phone ping data was discussed, specifically whether Mr. Allen's phone also pinged off the same tower which would be relevant to knowing if he was bridge guy. If it did ping, it might not be helpful, as it could just mean he was in Delphi. But Miss Thang reiterated telling police about mud and blood during the missing part of the interview. Of course, remember, everything important happens in the missing, in the deleted shit. She described this person as muddy, suggesting he had been down by the water or fallen off the cliff. The blood she saw was like drops and splatters. Her explanation for not mentioning mud in the latest interview was that they were focused on blood. Is everything cool in here? What's going on over here? Hold on. What's up, Don? Don't let him get you off. Everybody must see you. Jeez, man. Let's see. Of course, Mr. Baldwin gets her to double down on the assertion that she didn't say mud at all because the questioning was only about blood. But he highlighted the discrepancy between saying mud 13 times and the video cutting off when blood was mentioned, suggested it relied on her word. Are you saying, did he actually say that? See, I wasn't there. Listen, did Baldwin actually say, so you're telling me that you said mud 13 times, but when you said blood, the camera cut off? Oh, it must have been triggered by the word blood to cut off. So that's what I'm taking away from this. This witness, Miss Sarah, was described as defensive, confrontational, angry, and resistant. Yeah, I remember that. Why would you do that? All right. A, you have an agenda. You're trying to control things in that courtroom, which was the impression that I came away with. And why does she matter anyway? Let me ask you guys that. Think about it real hard, because we always get stuck in these thought forms or these patterns of thinking where you take things for granted. Let me ask you this. Why in the hell does Sarah Carbos as a witness even matter to this narrative here? Why does she even matter? Like, what if you just totally scrap, if you're Nick McClellan and you say, hey, we can totally scrap her contribution, her statement that she saw somebody covered in blood. Why not totally scrap it? Can you still prove your case without her? I mean, seems to me, I guess it was a necessary component in this fairy tale. In this fairy tale where you're saying that this guy encounters these girls, chases them across the water, kills them right there on the spot, and then therefore he's going to be bloody. So in order to confirm or try to paint him as the murderer, you have to have a witness that alleges that they see him and that he's full of blood, therefore, and he's a little muddy. Therefore, he must have killed those girls, because why else would someone be walking full of mud and possibly blood? So her witness statement bookended this whole thing, where as she witnesses and places someone who she claims to be muddy and bloody and matching bridge guy coming out of the area, then they're able to say, well, obviously then that's Richard Allen, and obviously then he had just killed those girls because he's full of their blood and some mud and stuff, and he's walking back to his car. Obviously. I mean, do y'all understand what I'm saying? I hope you understand what I'm saying. It's really obscene. It's obscene how obvious it is. All right, so let's keep going. But she's defensive, confrontational, angry, smarty pants, and resistant. Now, here's where Burkhart, like I say, I like her. I like her. She says the defense did not enter transcripts into evidence to highlight these inconsistencies, potentially missing an opportunity to establish prior inconsistent statements. This would require the witness to deny making the statement. Mm, mm. That's tough. That's tough. Maybe the appellate attorneys should look at this, okay? Maybe you should look at this right here. This is one of the places where they potentially provided ineffective assistance. I mean, it's clear that several were coached to me, okay? It's clear that several were coached. Karba, Roland Core, family members. Let's be honest here. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Question here. Do you think the family was coached by Nick McClelland or not? Oh, that's a hard one. Let's see. I mean, remember, the whole deal about the box cutter, remember this whole deal about the box cutter, it only came up after the second meeting with McClelland. Remember? Just like Sarah Carbaugh. The only time blood came up was in the third interview, the one in 2019, where it suddenly transitioned to blood, no mud. First, it was all mud, no blood. Then it transitioned to that third meeting. Suddenly, it's nothing but blood. So, honestly, I think there was a whole bunch of coaching when it came to the family, when it came to the witnesses, and when it came to the medical examiner. And honestly, I would also say with Brian Harshman and Tony Liggett. I mean, everybody. I think everybody was coached to shit. Look at what happened in the course of trial. I mean, if you remember how trial went, they seem to have been coached to accomplish certain tasks, right? Let's see. Let's keep going. The forensic pathologist testified about autopsy procedures. Okay, and I'm not going to read all this. Throat wounds of both girls were very gaping, 2 to 2.5 inches wide, consistent with sharp force causing gaping. The sexual assault kit included blood sample, vaginal, oral, hand, genital washes, swabs, fingernail scrapings, hair, pubic, other, saline syringe, pubic hair combing. Abby bit her nails so severely that fingernail scrapings were not possible. A trace fiber was found on Abby's upper left arm, suggesting transfer. The doctor found no injury suggestive of traumatic sexual contact, but this doesn't mean that none occurred. Key. Okay, this is key. No injury of traumatic sexual contact, but it doesn't mean none occurred. Photo of Abby's back showed lividity. Hey, do you know that the troll farm leaked the photo of Abby's back? I haven't shown you that yet. Remember in the press conference? Okay, let me remind you. Remember in the post sentencing press conference? Remember that McClellan referenced that autopsy photos had been leaked? Or there's a rumor they had been leaked? Well, I'll tell you. Troll Farm leaked them. And you know how I know? Because they tried to get us to leak them. That's right. I got the receipts. It was a setup. I mean, they always do the setups, right? The Chomo Troll Farm does the setups on the good folks. All right, now where are we? Autopsy assistant returns organs, sutures, and returns body to cooler. The timing of when the body went into the cooler wasn't specified. Liberty also had an assault kit done with no signs of trauma. The kits include extra swabs for miscellaneous purposes, raising a question about the provenance of other swabs noted earlier by the CSI. Doctor initially described a serrated edge on Libby's wound in his report, but later thought it wasn't typical, suggesting something else. Remember, after the third, was it the third meeting or the second meeting with McClellan, whatever it might be? Yeah, the story changed. Okay, let's see. Now this is honestly, when trial happened, I didn't like this part. Okay, I didn't like this because I thought this was a sympathy play or this was a further traumatizing of the jury. But listen to this story. Doctor gives a ballpark estimate of 5 to 10 minutes, maybe longer, to reach unconsciousness or death, depending on variables like lying down versus moving. An objection prevented getting a specific answer for unconsciousness time. Libby would have gone through a similar process. Her attempts to control the wound could slow blood loss, likely closer to 5 minutes. All right, so you see what I think was being attempted there was to traumatize the jury with mental visualizations of the moments of death and the process of dying. And I think it was wrong. You know, I think it was wrong because they did it again with the tear. That's going to come up later. Remember with the tear when they brought out this thing that there was a uh, what was potentially a blood tear indicating potentially crying at the time of. Come on, come on, man. That was all fantasy. It was to invoke in the listener, i.e., the jury, uh, trauma, sadness, anger, retribution. you know, hurt. So this whole deal with saying that, yeah, it took 5 to 10 minutes for each of the girls to die, and possibly like depending on if they're sitting, if they're crawling, if they're moving, if they're holding the wounds closed. I mean, it's disgusting what they do. And you see, they try to put it on us. They want to say, "Oh, leaking the bridge guy video re-traumatizes the family. Oh, posting the crime scene photos which show the deliberate arrangement of the sticks into runes on the bodies traumatizes the family. It all re-victimizes the family." Pull that game. But what they wouldn't say is, "Oh, telling this story of a 5 to 10 minute death of each girl and them covering their wounds in their dying moments and them crying tears in their dying moments. Oh, that doesn't re traumatize or victimize the family." But the release by the Mean Girls Club of the alleged video from the phone Libby was in possession of, that traumatizes the family, McClellan. All right, so let's see what else we got here. Libby had mild cerebral edema, unlike Abby, which can be caused by oxygen loss, blood pressure loss, strangulation, cutting off blood to the brain, yeah, or blunt force trauma to the head. Let's be honest here. Mr. Rosie brought attention to the fact that 98% of this doctor's work is for the state. He's a state actor. All right. So, just like the crime scene tech, he acknowledged seeing crime scene photos but couldn't draw conclusions about the time of death. Could only say the instrument was sharp bladed, not specifying knife versus scalpel or length. I mean, could any of you imagine that this doctor cannot determine whether it's a scalpel or whether it's a pocket knife or a kitchen knife? Can you imagine? This doctor could only say the instrument was sharp. He didn't mention a box cutter. He couldn't say if the perpetrator was right or left handed due to too many variables. Right to left drawing motion on the left side of the throat would suggest a left handed person if behind. Libya's trachea was not damaged, so airflow wasn't restricted. The defense raised this to counter the theory that a fear of a gun kept the girls silent after a lethal blow. Now, that's an important point. That's important. Now, you see, that's something I might have missed. And there's two things that bother me about these statements. The doctor alleging that he could not say if the perpetrator's right or left-handed, or if the wound went from this side to that side or that side to that side, and how long the blade was, all of that, it either shows extreme incompetency on the side of the medical examiner or a reluctance to tell the truth or to provide anything definitive. Okay. It's also interesting that the allegation is that Libby's trachea is not damaged, so airflow isn't restricted, meaning there could have been screams. Doctor said it was possible something was put in the victim's mouth to keep them quiet. And remember, there's this marking on Abby's face indicating that she may have been uh, kept quiet. No fingernail scraping from Libby due to shortness. No trauma to sex organs, but no opinion on sexual activity before death. Well, how do you explain all the male DNA? We'll get to that later. Libby had 4 to 5 throat injuries, but the handedness of a perpetrator could not be determined. Okay, think about it. And listen, I don't like discussing this. Okay, it's not that I want to talk about this. Um, 4 to 5 injuries. That's horrible. That's brutal. That's horrible and brutal. That's a brutality that you cannot imagine. Now, let me ask you, do you think that's done calmly or in a fit of rage and chaos? How do you think that 4 to 5 throat injuries occur? 4 to 5 throat injuries occur across the throat, swipes of a blade. Do you think that's calmly done, or do you think that's in the moments of chaos and struggle? The doctor indicated serrated marks at the deposition, possibly 2, 3, or 4 weapons. He clarified in court that a 1 inch blade with a handle, like a box cutter, could be consistent. Box cutter. You see, this is where mhm, it's a box cutter, meaning it's Rick Allen. Remember? You get it? You see what I mean? This is, oh, Yolanda, there were screams heard. Do you want to know about those screams? Because those screams were heard by 3 women at 2 a.m. hour. Yes. There were blood curdling, horrific screams heard at the 2 a.m. hour during this so called search. Let's be real here. Let's be real here. There were blood curdling, horrific horror screams, but just 12 hours too late. Okay. 12 hours too late, according to the state's theory. Let's continue. I'll skip ahead. None of this is that important. The doctor emphasized his initial serration description was the best match at the time. Yeah, because it was before he spoke with McClelland a couple times. And he considered, he had an epiphany after about the second, third meeting with McClelland, magically. Mr. Rosie confronted him about not filing a supplemental report or mentioning this change in the deposition, despite talking to the prosecutor several times after the February deposition, but not to the defense. Mr. Rosie was clearly unhappy with this doctor. And he conceded, is no way to tell if it was a box cutter without seeing the instrument. Medical examiner can determine what kind of knife was used. course they can. I mean, let's be real here. I mean, don't you think that the medical examiner can determine a lot of things? But yeah, not when you need it to be hazy and clouded for the gaslighting ass narrative of the theory that you cannot prove that the prosecutor is trying to put across. That's why everything is nebulous here. Doctor had coffee with a reporter and knew the case had worldwide attention. Oh, yeah, this was a moment in the sun. He conceded his report is for definitive info, while the box cutter talk was more speculation. But guess what? It got into the ears and minds of the jurors, which was the important thing. So see how this game works? On redirect, Luttrell asked the minimum number of knives to cause all the wounds, and the doctor said one. Yes, Chris, it's true. All right, so let's continue. All right. A digital forensic analyst, I'm guessing this is Mr. Horan, testified about phone extractions. He used magnet axiom to produce raw data extracted using Celebrite, allowing more than prior programs. He did individual exams to reproduce reports, taking 2 months, June to August 2019. What the hell? He provided a list of data tracked by the Knowledge Seed database, not exhaustive, learning of its existence in 2019. During gaslighting as questioning by McClelland, the witness sometimes asked for rephrasing, potentially to ensure testimony was very specific and to suggest that the 2019 and 2017 extractions pulled the same data. He did another detailed analysis between May and August of 2024, writing a second report correcting typos and noting the phone was unlocked with a passcode, not by Celebrite, which means, guess what? Family had the passcode if they gave it to them. Knowledge C database usually retains about a month of records, varying by tracked events. Location data from Knowledge C can be pretty accurate over long distances, but tends to overestimate distances. Mm. Someone conducted cross exam and got quiet responses from the witness and Mr. McClelland's many objections, flailing his arms about. Right. The video location data started near the Delphi High School and returned to the trail within 4 seconds. Hmm. Yeah, you don't see that in a leak video, do you? I didn't think so. Good point. Good point there. You allow phone extractions, but not geofence data, which shows three other individuals around the crime scene. All right. The phone showed an SMS message from Becky Patty at 4:06 p.m. saying, "You need to call me now," with follow-ups. Messages continued to the next day with several at 4:38 or 4:33 a.m. All this SMS information was elicited on direct exam after a recess where McClelland asked to ask omitted questions. I don't know what that means. In the first report's timeline under events, there were blank spaces related to battery levels being tracked separately. The 2:05 p.m. picture of the high bridge with nobody was not printed in the first report, though it was located. Hmm. I'm sorry, I'm not ready to really discuss that much, but maybe I have Apophis should look into this. Okay, I have Apophis should look at this. Think about this, and think about it not being a glitch. Okay, the 2:05 p.m. picture of the empty bridge, you know, the one which matches identically the Cheyenne pictures of the empty bridge, was not in the first report, though it was located. Okay, well, let's take the parenthetical part off of that. Though it was located. Well, we don't know what that even means. Like, how was it located? Where was it located? Let's delete that addition and let's just take the grain of the nugget here. The 2:05 p.m. picture of the empty bridge from Libby was not printed in the first extraction. What extractions are we talking about? What report extractions or extraction reports? We're talking about the first report's timeline. Hmm. He did 2 exams to produce reports. Used magnet axiom to process raw data extracted using Celebrite. Okay. The picture of the high bridge that's empty was not printed in the first report. There's the allegation it was located. What does this mean? Was it located on Snapchat, on social media, in screenshots like the Abbey on the Bridge photo? Hmm. One of the attorneys questioned why only a logical extraction, basic user visible data, was done in early 2017, suggesting a more thorough one could have been done. Logical extraction, user visible data. Advanced logical, like iPhone backup, a bit more. Full file system data under the hood, system files, logs, knowledge C database. Apple doesn't tell forensic people what's in the phone. They'll have to figure it out, explaining why knowledge C was unknown in 2017. The witness was familiar with the power off log, shutdown log, which is volatile and overwritten each time the phone is powered off. Yeah. Okay. Messages time stamped between 4:06 p.m. and 4:33 a.m. iMessages don't necessarily mean the phone receives them. In his September 12th deposition, the witness acknowledged knowledge C on the phone, its information, and using all extractions for his 2017 report. Exhibit P was the original source of the knowledge C database, from which the witness selected pertinent data for the timeline. Hmm. See, I really do think, and I know I'm kind of throwing him under the bus, but no, Iowa Apophis should probably relook at all of this because this all, as I'm reviewing it now, as we've had a lot of time to clear the mind of other stuff, all of this stuff's really raising red flags to me. All of this stuff's really like bothering me for real. I mean, you see what I mean? Like, you got the missing Monin High Bridge picture. You got the logical user visible data versus the full knowledge C. You've got yeah, it just seems like it's like ambiguity, dodging questions, filling in blanks. I don't know. I think this needs to be looked at more closely. All of this stuff with the phone extractions from the phone that Libby was in possession of. Okay. Oh, I wonder if this is another one that's being shown. It says one of the defense attorneys elicited that pulling cloud information directly from a phone by plugging it in is typically a no-go for digital forensic analysts due to potential data loss overriding. Other methods exist. So is that what happened? They pulled that information by plugging in the wire and therefore overwrote stuff and lost data where they could have done or used other methods. You want to get everything in the first extraction. Each time you plug in or power on, you risk losing data. Multiple extractions by a prior analyst Bunner potentially lost data. The witness agreed that a second set of eyes would have been helpful. In 2019, the FBI requested the full file extraction, but the witness, Kevin Horan, did not follow up to provide it. Wait, that must be Holman, not Holan, not Horan. Okay, maybe it's Holman. So look at this one. This is another red flag. This is another red flag. Okay, in 2019, the FBI requested the full extraction, but Holman did not follow up to provide it, which was noted as troubling and alarming, as more information is generally better. They didn't want the FBI looking at the new extraction. Hello, FBI, where are you? Are you out there? FBI. What is Holman hiding from the FBI? What was Doug Carter hiding from the FBI? And Unified Command and the prosecutor? There is a Kevin Horan. I'm sorry, Lisa. There is a Kevin Horan. He is the guy who was the FBI agent who did the mm, cast data geofencing report summary. This is why I was confusing it, because this AI is saying Holan, but it must mean Holman. But I mean, back to like what I'm saying about this, all these extractions from the victim's phone and the withholding from the FBI. You see what I'm getting at? Like for me, with a clean slate going back through this trial, this is the point of all this. It's not just for you, it's for me, it's for all of us. Okay, with the clean slate, fresh eyes going back through these notes of what happened and what was presented in trial, it's pretty alarming. Pretty alarming. All of the stuff from the phone that Libby was in possession of is pretty fucking alarming. So what really happened? So what really happened? Like, how many points of data were lost? How many extractions were done? What was found? What was not found? How do you do it like this? And how do you fuck shit up? And why are you withholding in 2019 this full extraction from the FBI? All right, keeping on. Let's keeping on. Switching gears, by the way. Switching gears. Um, yeah, good point, Digital. He'd walk over shards of hot glass. Who the fuck would ever say that? All right. Now, Moving on to Richard Allen. Okay. What's up, Tiffany? And anyone else coming in? Welcome in everyone who's coming in. Okay. This must be Mo. Must be Jennifer Auger. I'm sorry that I didn't go back and edit any of this. This is the pure raw AI bullet points. Okay, I didn't go back and toy with it. But let's look at it. It says Auger then switched the extraction of Allen's devices, eliciting that 23 devices were analyzed from the search warrant execution at his home. This was seen as devastating, as the prosecution did not object. Potentially a strategic error. Prosecution needs to substantiate the claim and cannot rely solely on certain implications. There were many jury questions about cell phone stuff, 3.5 to 4 pages. Andrea got pens from lawyer Lee after hers ran dry. These ladies here, congrats, ladies. Okay, amazing job, amazing job. All right, jury question: did you locate the 205 bridge photo with nobody in it? Answer: yes, in the timeline, but not printed. I don't know. I don't buy it. I see there's something. There's something there. There's something there. Okay. Why are there black spaces under event in the first report's timeline? Related to tracking battery levels separately. How does the phone receive iMessages, calls, but not SMS without a cell connection? Did you check if AT&T Tower had issues at the time? No, no other investigators would, but nothing heard about that. There was deemed an obvious follow-up if connectivity was sketchy. How much data is lost if the phone is off for a month? Don't know. Is a month a 30-day period between cycles or a calendar month? Don't know. That relates to various data retention periods in Knowledge C. Andrea adds that the day was unsatisfying with more details but not answering deeper questions. She felt like they have more questions now at the start of day 8. She'll continue to wait and see the evidence from both sides. There was a lot of evidence still yet to come. DNA, blood, trace, body fluids. Andrea addressed various comments. Now, ooh, okay. The judge took composite motion and motion to exclude Dr. Tobin under advisement. Um, the state's request to have 2 non-sequestered representatives assist them at the table was granted. Uh-oh, looks like we got out of order here. I apologize. This was supposed to be day 3 that went yesterday. I guess I scrambled it. Okay, apologize. So we'll blaze through this, okay? The state's motion to exclude reference to iPass settlement was granted. Oh, of course, because they don't want to talk about bad things on the part of the state actors. Whoops. Yeah, thank you. Whoops. Like I said, I didn't go back and edit or anything, this stuff. I dumped it all in and I hit print. Okay. I mean, that already took 5 hours to do, by the way. That was a lot of work. So I didn't feel like going proofreading editing. But What else are we talking about here? We're talking about the iPass settlement. Okay. The state, of course, wanted that excluded. Maybe we should look into that in a future episode. Maybe one of my loyal viewers will help remind me to take a look at that. Maybe we should do a whole episode on the iPass settlement. Um, okay, Judge Gull displayed disdain for the defense's argument. Yeah, that's not bias, right? That's not bias. That's not exhibiting bias. Um, Regarding lay witnesses, the state must establish a foundation for their knowledge. The jury was sworn on day 3. Thomas Plants, retired FBI forensic artist, testified about the composite sketch process, emphasizing the cognitive interview, memory dump, and that the sketches are not for in-court identification. Yeah, yeah, nothing was for in-court identification. I mean, let's remember here, neither of those witnesses could look at Richard Allen and say, yeah, he's the guy. He's the guy right there. The state's motion to exclude reference to the composite sketches was taken under advisement. Under advisement. Yeah. That means, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to give you what you want. Of course, I'm going to hand McClellan everything gift wrapped with a bow. But for all outward appearances, I'm going to say that I'm taking them under advisement and going to go really seriously consider what's the right thing to do. A discussion on skilled versus expert witnesses in Indiana law occurred. Rozzi raised concern about the state's firearm examiner's reliability. A dispute arose over the state's cell phone extraction experts' cooperation. Cell phone extraction experts' cooperation, but an agreement was reached. Okay. The defense sought to incorporate the evidentiary hearing record on third-party culprits for appeal. The 17th juror replaced an original juror who was lost. Judge Gull displayed noticeable disdain and sarcasm towards the defense team. Yes, that's what we call professionalism and unbiased judges in Indiana. Thank you, Mike. Welcome, Mike, and thank you. All right. Opening statements, and we've covered this. We've sort of covered over this. McClellan's whole thing about bridge guy, the bullet, and the confessions, and yeah, right. Bitch, bridge guy, the bullet, and brutal murders. And Richard Allen confessed while being forcibly medicated by an insane Delphi fangirl. That's a whole other subject, though. And tortured and threatened with death and his entire family by Odinist guards. That's a whole other subject, though. And the inmate smoking spice in the cells right adjacent to him. Oh, that's another subject, though. All right. Baldwin argued flawed investigation, inconsistencies in confessions, lack of forensic links, delay in hair testing, inconsistencies with Betsy Blair's description, timeline issues, and asserted Mr. Allen's real innocence. Okay, let's stop there. This is going to be opening statements. Let's review Baldwin, right? Flawed investigation. Let's see. If I were to really put on my critical thinking cap, I would say flawed investigation or corrupt, covered up investigation. I would say probably 35% flawed investigation. And then I'd say probably, I don't know, at least 65, 75, let's say 70% All right, let's do 70-30. 30% flawed, 70% cover up. All right, inconsistencies in confessions. Yes, like I shot the girls, so sorry I did. I sexually assaulted the girls, so sorry I did. Lack of forensic links. Oh, another fact. Yes, zero forensics. Remember with this trial, this entire thing about Richard Allen? Well, Prof, why don't you think Richard Allen is guilty? Well, number one, they didn't prove it. There's zero of anything that proves Richard Allen is guilty. Think about it. No actual forensics, no DNA, no digital forensics, no relationships with the girls or the Patty family or anything. Come on. What do you got? What you got? You got scratches on a bullet that you can only match, that if you fire one, you claim you can match it, but that bullet wasn't fired, it was only extracted. So someone explain to me like I'm 2 years old. Okay. Delay in hair testing. Oh, you mean Kelsey. You mean Kelsey's hair pulled out from the root, wrapped around the finger of a dead, murdered girl left in the woods. That makes sense. Okay. Inconsistencies with Betsy Blair's description. Oh, you mean how all the witnesses, not one of them described Richard Allen? Oh, yeah, that's right. They all described a tall, muscular, younger guy. I remember that. I do remember that. Most of them said dressed in all black or something like that. Yeah, I remember that as well. Let's see. None of them described a short, pudgy, short ass, really short little guy. You know, Richard Allen. None of them described that guy. Hmm. I would say that's inconsistency. Oh, but Betsy Blair did describe a young, beautiful looking guy. You know, it's a whole other thing that you would never describe Richard Allen as. I mean, okay. Timeline issues. Oh, wow. Yeah, those exist. Those exist. Those exist starting with Sunday. You know, Sunday happens to be the day that Brad Holder and Patrick Westphal always did blots in Delphi. Remember? Remember that? Yeah, that was Sunday. Sunday is also the day that the family has discrepancies about alleging who drove those girls around. It also looks like it's possibly the last day of proof of life. Sunday. Mm-hmm. Sunday. It's also the day or the night where Megan Allen and the Kokomo Crew boys all go out there to that Monon High Bridge area, right? And Megan's being gang raped and all kind of other things, and there's drugs. There's a whole bunch of meth smoking going on, and it's a big, huge party, and there's a great barn involved. And she calls her mother, and there's a huge problem, and she's begging to be picked up, and then she also makes the statement that she stabs Abby in the side of the neck while staring her in the eyes to see what it would feel like to kill someone. Yeah, that was a Sunday night. Hmm. Timeline issues. And then the FBI comes around and says, no, they're dropped off Monday at approximately 1 p.m. in quotations, approximately 1 p.m. And then the family the whole time has said, yeah, even though we never told the straight story about what happened the day before with who brought them where and who ate banana pancakes the next morning and all this, now what we're saying is it's about 1:30 when we drop these girls off. It's about 1:30, and there's a whole complicated story involving the heathens, involving sweaters, involving washing a truck, and involving all this other stuff, you know. And then that changes, when this video is realized that this video exists, then that suddenly gets pushed back like 20 minutes, now from 1:30 to nearly 1:50. But it's kind of funny because there's also the issues with Brad Weber where his whole timeline gets pushed forward 15 minutes, and then you got Cheyenne and all these girls and all the other witnesses who've all like fudged their timelines. So why is it that everyone fudges their timelines? Everyone by 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. I don't know. We're all just everybody who was out there. There's tons of people out there in that 48-hour period, the 12th and the 13th. And everybody lied. Everybody fudged their timelines. And now we got Richard Allen convicted. Okay. Anyway, the state began calling witnesses on that day 3. It was Pecky Batty, Libby's Gamma, who gave emotional testimony about the girls and the search. Oh, you know what I thought about? I thought about this. Oh, yeah, yeah, we're so sad. Pecky Batty. And then I thought about this. You know how they're landlords? They own rental houses. And I thought about this. I wonder if she uses that sad grandma voice on the renters when they evict the renters. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. You haven't paid your rent in 3 months? Sorry. I'm sad. Yeah. So we have to kick you and your 3-month-old out. Sorry. Sad. Mm, mm. I'm still sad. I just happen to never cry. I mean, never smile. 7 years later. Yeah, I wonder if you use the sad grandma voice act when you're evicting your poor renters who can't afford the rent. Is that how that character works? Okay, so and next, Kelsey Siebert, Libby's sister, who screams at the grave. Is very angry at that dead girl. Timeline and hair on Abby, possibly from Libby's sweatshirt. Is that whose pants is on Abby's body? Is what I want to know. Okay. Derek German, who gave his account. Deputy Catherine. I don't know what that is. Maybe this is AI doing a goof move. Deputy Catherine. I don't know what that means. Um, 4 traditional media members were banned for photographing jurors. I remember that whole deal. Okay. Testimony of Oberg, who alleges to be a forensic firearm examiner. Just a moment, please. Okay. Oh, Catherine Shanks. Thank you, Pertinent. Thank you. Yeah, that's right. Catherine Shanks was deputized. Maybe that's who we're talking about. Let's go back. Deputy Catherine Shanks. Ugh. Okay, let's move on. Oberg. I really don't want to even read through this. I've already done my tirade on the bullet. I'm not going to go through this. Okay. But listen, let's draw what we can draw from it without me going back over how ridiculous it is. Uh, let's talk about trial exhibits that we should be privy to. Oberg used a large PowerPoint presentation to outline the basics of firearm analysis. I believe we should have the right to have possession of that PowerPoint presentation. we should also get the photos of the bullet and of the ones that she had to fire to match. Remember? Yeah, that'll be pretty interesting. That'll be pretty interesting. I look forward to that. All right. And she's going on and on and on about boo 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 hoo boo hoo shit. Like, look, this is how a gun works. This is how da. I'm serious. It's kind of like how they always, you know, how they put up the every time they put a cop on the stand, they say, "Oh, this is Lieutenant, you know, so and so smorgasbord," and then they say, "Oh, yes, he served for 26 years, and he's been awarded the State Police Medal of Honor for state policedom and beating the shit out of people at random traffic stops in the 15th consecutive time this year. He's gotten a super award for that, Super Trooper of the Year, and he's also been commended. He's received a commendation by the Fraternal Order of Pig Lease about the uh, uh, exemplary police officer and ass licking of the judges in Allen County, and he's also been awarded the pompous pig donut kids baseball sponsorship of the year for doing that, and he's also he was promoted from rookie officer to the next officer in line, and then he became a sergeant and a deputy and a detective and then a lieutenant. And after about those 6 paragraphs of propping him up, then they'll start to let them testify. And for me, this is what this is from Oberg. It's like I'm about to teach you all how much I know about firearms, and then you're going to have to understand that what I'm about to say about that bullet's right. So, there's a thing called a gun. Guns are referred to as firearms by professionals, and we don't call bullets bullets. We call them rounds. And there's parts of a gun, and there's the lower, which leaves lower marks, and there's a magazine, and we don't call it a clip because a real gun aficionado calls it a magazine. And blah 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 blah. And then it's about 3 pages later, she starts to talk about the actual marks not matching. Okay. And she lets you know that she's never been wrong, though. One thing she absolutely does is she lets you know, like, she is a straight A student, has never been wrong in her entire life, ever, not once. But all of her subordinates have at some point in time. But that's, to me, that's what all this stuff is here. It's filibustering, bullshitting, as the people say. Look here. There's tools. There's a fundamental job of the prerequisite of the fundamental of the established consensus of the standardized faction of the testing regimen regime. And people then take her serious, just like they'll take the cop. All right, so see, we still haven't gone here. To get to the marks from the extractor, ejector chamber, and the PowerPoint, and the photographs, and the unspent and decreased pressure of the firing of the rounds in the flex capacitor. Okay. Anyway, sorry, I know I'm being annoying. I'm doing it on purpose to prove a point. Let's see. I can testify the identify a gun as the source of the marks on the cartridge, but cannot say it's to the exclusion of all other guns in the universe. Thanks. It's time for facetiousness. So when you're on the stand in a double homicide of 2 little girls, it's a great time to be a smarty pants. So in other words, she can identify that it's definitely Richard Allen's, but she can admit that she can't exclude any other guns. It's Richard Allen's. I can definitively prove it to all of you jurors in this court of law while I've given my 5 pages of prerequisite subject matter knowledge. But But as far as excluding that it's anyone else's gun, no, unfortunately, I can't do that. Sorry. But it's definitely Richard Allen's because I say so. I've never been wrong. All right. I don't know what I'm doing at this point. Where are we? This looks like someone's testifying about DNA here. I see something about hair, but it's not saying who's talking. Okay. Because here we got someone talking about injuries inflicted at different times. Could not rule it out. Could not rule out one artery being breached and others later. Could not rule out Abby and Libby being killed at different times or at the same time. Microscopic hair analysis is not the speaker's specialty. The FBI is comfortable doing microscopic hair analysis and treats it as an investigative tool for screening. Maybe one of you will figure out who this is. I don't know. The ISP used to do microscopic hair analysis a long time ago, 18 years ago, but of course we couldn't do it in Delphi. She was asked if there were any other resources in the lab she thought would be helpful that weren't employed. She said they exhausted most, if not all, resources. And for this, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to use the Anthony Greeno voice. In the laboratory, the scientist decided to utilize all resources to test the hair that belonged to the perpetrator, Richard Allen, in this trial. They exhausted most, if not all, resources and nothing came to mind. When asked about the many standards she had been provided for DNA comparison, she said hundreds, and they all belonged to Richard Allen. Other than Abby and Libby, female relatives and female law enforcement officers, she only received one or two other female standards out of hundreds, indicating they were not looking for female perpetrators. All right, let's get me back on track. Get me back on track. Out of hundreds of female standards that should have been compared, they only received one. And she added or two. No, it's one. And that was done during trial or right before when they got Kelsey's. Remember why? They were not looking for female perpetrators. Let me ask you this. How stupid do you have to be, or how corrupt do you have to be to look at that crime scene with two dead girls and not and not include a single female as a potential perpetrator when you don't know how many perpetrators caused those two dead bodies on Ron Logan's land? You got two dead bodies on Ron Logan's land. You don't know who caused that. But your approach is that you're only looking for men. Anyone think that's correct? That would be the correct way to handle it? How in the hell would they know if there's a female perpetrator involved or not? Almost looks as if they were never truly seeking to solve this crime, but they were looking to pin the tail on the donkey, right? They said, this is a guy, this is a lone wolf male perpetrator. We're going to find the lone wolf male perpetrator, and that's all there is to it, to the exclusion of all others. We're going to find us a lone wolf male perpetrator. So they are not looking for female perpetrators. So they don't test the DNA. You've got all this unknown DNA. You've got all these unknown hairs. She was asked if it was possible that multiple people could have been involved in these murders. And she said, "Oh, I can't speculate," which means she did not want to say yes. Because let me ask you this, isn't saying that one is involved, isn't that speculation? So she's already speculating. Alleging that there's a single perpetrator is a speculation. But when asked if it's possible that multiple people could have been involved, she says, "I can't speculate." Well, hold on. That question is pretty thorough. That question says, is it possible? That means a possibility that multiple people could. That means might be. So that's two levels of what do you call it? Uh, no one's asking her to definitively say that. The question was not, does this case definitively, definitely, absolutely involve multiple perpetrators? That's not the question. That's where you say, I can't speculate. The question was, is it possible that perhaps multiple people could have? That's like three different questions. Is it even possible that they could have? I can't speculate. But of course, here she goes with you know how they always have the troll farm talking points. So she goes, but it's not unexpected that DNA can be transferred, so if there is DNA from the family, it's most likely through transfer. Now here's another one that'll make you want to punch the wall, promise. Uh, Saliva is a source of DNA and can yield high quality profiles. Saliva is a source of DNA and can yield high quality profiles. Mm-hmm. Regarding the connections between Richard Allen and Abby and Libby, there was no unmated matched much. There was no male DNA that could be developed or a sample specific from Richard Allen. Hmm? No. See, I don't understand what this AI is trying to say about about this one, but here's the facts. Richard Allen gave DNA. The fact that they could not match any DNA to Richard Allen, that's to his exclusion. Okay. Now, all of this unmatched male DNA that does exist. The actual question is, well, whose DNA is that? Who could it be matched to? Well, it seems like you'd have to have some manners to do so. I mean, didn't they spend a shit ton of money on testing DNA? All right. Where are we? I'm a little lost. I'm getting upset again. I get pissed off when I start to think about this. Okay. And this state actor, okay, who's clearly being combative, trying to steer the narrative, being evasive. She's not innocent here. She's not. She's not sitting there with the integrity of the entire state of Indiana. Like, just look at what she's already conveyed. Okay, the FBI told her that microscopic hair comparisons would require comparison samples from the heads of subjects. Okay, so go get them. No samples were submitted from Richard Allen for microscopic hair analysis, nor were anyone else's. Well, first of all, why did you even say it that way? It almost seems as though you're trying to say that Rick Allen could have been matched if that had been done. How about you just say it the actual accurate way, which is like the second half of that sentence? None was done. None were done. Okay, so none were done. Well, hey, could that still be done to this day? Let me ask you this. See, all you appellate fucks and you habeas fucks and all you fucks, you cucks who are running around or out there trying to interfere in the case, how about you interfere in this way? Get the DNA rolling on this case. Figure out how to make it happen in a new trial, whatever is going to happen. If you've got samples that could be compared, how about you go and you start getting some samples from the heads of a bunch of people, if that's what it's going to take. Why does a dude on the internet who's sitting here with his 5-year-old in the next room and who wants to be like off of this damn thing, watching TV in my bed, or I don't know, playing my keyboard behind me, doing what I want to do, why do I have to be sitting here saying, where's the fucking DNA testing? Where's the hair analysis? How much money? Let me ask you this. How much money? Look, just think about. Okay, I know people don't like when I say this. Wipe the slate. Money. Ballpark. 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 Grants. Grants. Taxpayers. Taxpayers. Question. How much money since the deaths of these two girls has poured in to this community? I mean, dude, it's like the biggest funnel in the world for money, right? You think of the millions of dollars that have followed the bodies of these two girls. Now, question. How many millions of dollars went into this trial against Richard Allen? With all the millions of dollars, multiple millions of dollars into this community and into this trial, you kick the FBI off and you never do a thorough testing of all the DNA, of all the hairs, of all the fibers. It's inconceivable. And I don't want to hear any attorneys whining about money. Fuck you and all your money. All the attorneys always say the same thing. Well, you need to hire another attorney. You need to hire another attorney. You need to pay for more attorneys. You should have retained counsel. Oh, hey, Big JD. Big JD. I'm going to keep it PG-13, Big JD, at least on publicly. Yeah. What is the state of that reward money? Speaking of large amounts of money, I mean, I don't know. Everybody's whining about money. Oh, we didn't get enough money for this. We're going to pay for this. We need $20,000 for that. We need $5,000 for this. We need $40,000 for that. We need $400,000 for money, 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 money. I mean, I think the millions of dollars that have been funneled into this community from day one, I think that's enough money. I think there's been plenty of money. All right, let's continue. All right. Now, so we're talking about this gaslight. Let's see. Oh, we've glitched. Okay. Boom. Now we've glitched back to Oberg for some reason. I guess I shuffled these transcripts out of order accidentally. Apologize. 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 Okay. So carrying on with Oberg, I'm going to skip through because, like I said, I've already bitched enough about her bull. So I'm done with it. I'm done with it. Um, I really don't want to. I get too angry looking at the whole firearm deal. Okay. I mean, like I said, it was funny to me that even the juror, as insane as she was, that came out, that juror came out and said, "No, we weren't really feeling the bullet." But here's the problem. It's just like anything. Once it's said, it's already subconsciously implanted into the minds of the jurors. So once it's out there, even if they want to ignore it, they're not going to ignore it. It's subtly down in them, right? So the minute they presented all this bullshit ballistics that's artificial, that's fabricated, that's not accurate, that's a lie, um, even if the jury didn't buy it and they wanted to disregard it, they could not help but have it influence them because as they're thinking about other things and they're going through other lies and deciding on his fate, this the fact that these allegations about this bullet tying him to the scene have been implanted in their minds will never go away. You can never get rid of that. So once it's there, it's there. All right. But there are some key little points here that I would like to bang on. Okay. Um, a jury question asked about the industry standard and if Oberg's work followed it. Andrea Burkhart felt uncomfortable with Oberg's simple, yes, the lab is accredited answer. Isn't that a smarty pants answer? Right? Uh, does your, it, do, what's the industry standard and does your lab follow it? Does your work follow that industry standard? Is this a normal thing where you're comparing a fired to an unspent, blah, blah, blah? And her answer is, yes, this lab is accredited. She's like the professional version of Sarah Carba. This is my takeaway from this woman. Okay, she's basically, if Sarah Carver is a little older and more educated, she turns into Oberg. Okay, a jury asked how significant having individual characteristics is in three tool areas. And Oberg said she couldn't quantify with a percentage. Uh, Andre Burkhart highlighted criticisms of firearm analysis coming from both outside and within the community, rightfully so, and found it inconsistent to say a match was made to a gun. However, you couldn't exclude other guns. Oof. All right. You guys are awesome in the chat, though. Please enjoy the chat. Forgive me, I'm just going on and on here. I just trying to get through this, and it's honestly it's difficult. It is difficult. Damn it! I wanted to get through more pages tonight, but I don't think it's going to happen. Um, Burkhart mentioned a centralized federal database for test-fired rounds to potentially link it to firearms that have committed other crimes. Blah 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 blah. The defense's expert, Dr. Tobin, a metallurgist and critic of tool mark analysis, was not allowed to testify. Okay? Even though he was their chosen expert, when they could have chosen any other expert, including a firearm examiner, they chose this metallurgist, and nope, wasn't allowed. State argued he couldn't criticize the principles of firearm examination, even if they related to metallurgy. All right. You think there was some hanky panky? I think old, what was his name? The barbecuer? Oh, Jason? I think there was some, I mean, there was some partying. Okay. Listen, I didn't tell you. Okay. I'll tell you now. I don't give a shit. I was sent some photographs of some partying. I was sent some photographs of some partying of the jury at that hotel. It was an ongoing party. It was a party that lasted several weeks. I mean, honestly. Anyhow. All right. So what else we got here? We got Andre Burkhart found the state's justification and the judge going along with it for excluding the defense expert unconvincing. She hoped that the defense had their own forensic pathologist, but of course they didn't. She found the whole process of comparing cycled unspent cartridges to fired cartridges nonsensical, as do anyone who has ever touched a gun that has any sort of a brain cell. All right. Um, anyhow, I'll leave this because I'm getting I'm getting pissed off. Oh man, that girl had her bags packed a week before. Like she was ready. You know, she needed this shit in her life, but she was ready for an adventure to have a fun time. It's like Disney World. It's called Allen County, Delphi, Carroll County. Two murdered girls, a guy's life on the line, partying with the deputies. Disney World. Good point. Good point, Radar. I can see why she's always been right. She doesn't get exact answers. Yeah, yeah. Hey, if I don't get the right answers, I can always be right, right? So, like, if we don't require exactness, if, in other words, what if your teacher's like, look, if you almost get the answer, I'm going to mark it right. Okay. And then she's like, hey, guess what, class? Everyone got hundreds. Oh, my class is a class of geniuses. Like, everyone always passes all my tests. I mean, because look, I just do basic ballpark answers. So as long as you try. All right. All right. Oh my gosh. Okay. She's a pygmy. Yeah, she's a pygmy. That's why. Is that what you're saying, heavy metal? She's a pygmy. She's a pygmy. Dude, Jason, your barbecue. I was ready for that trial. Yeah, girl. I got me a new outfit for every day of the week, and I thought I love when powerful women wear nice clothes. Oh, I was so impressed by the female lawyers. Girl power. Oh, and then Jason was hot, and he talked to me and everything. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We'll move on. We'll move on. Okay. I'm being extra mean tonight. Listen, I'm going to get trolled. I'm going to get the hate messages. I'm going to get death threats. And they're going to strike my channel for various offenses because I'm being extra mean tonight. Okay. Now let's see. I'm going to skip all. I'm so pissed off about the bullet. This is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this. I go on rants when I'm extra aggravated with what I'm looking at. So I'm sorry. Um, the narrator found it concerning that the 40 caliber round in the box at Richard Allen's was a hollow point, while the one at the scene was not specified. Yeah, let's talk about the troll farm because you know what they do, what they were doing, and I have proof of it all. Trust me, they don't even realize what I have yet. Um, what they were doing, they were coming up with fantastical stories for every single aspect of all of this. Okay, like they came up with digging up the cat in the backyard. That was a troll farm story. That was fantasy world. They came up with the motorcycle cover thing. They came up with the water bottle and touching the girl's private parts and being found in Richard Allen's garage, and that was going to be it. And they talked about Richard Allen's Google searches, and they talked about the that he took around to as a keepsake. Okay, that he took a 40 caliber round that he one of the ones that was in the gun that he intimidated those girls with, that he took that round out of the gun and he put in that keepsake box to keeps as a keepsake for the murders. They did all that. They basically were, for any angle you can look at, they come up with fairy tales, and it was all meant to disturb Richard. Remember, he was weird at Walmart. He made funny faces. He farted at Walmart, and he was rude. He molested his daughter. Uh, Kathy doesn't believe him. She knows he's guilty, and she's gonna divorce him soon. Remember? They really did that all. And they also did this. Hey, Richard, hi. We're fans, and we heard a rumor that your wife's gonna leave you. How do you feel about that? Remember? All that actually happened. They actually did it. Uh, yes, it's and more that I'm not even remembering. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on about the stunts they pulled. Oh, right, right, right. There was that too. Thank you, heavy metal. Oh, yes. Yes, they did. They reported that uh his daughter said she didn't love him until they got called out and were forced to retract it. Remember that? That's how this all worked. This is how the troll farm worked with the wait until you see those Google searches. It's going to prove he's a monster. You haven't even seen the Fujaku, the Google searches. It's going to prove he's the killer. But don't look at Keegan Klein. Don't pay attention to Dropbox. Don't pay attention to Keegan Klein searches. There's nothing with Keegan Klein. There's no connection to Keegan Klein. There's zero connection to Delphi and Keegan Klein. There was never a connection to Delphi and Keegan Klein. Nothing. Keegan Klein's a liar. It's just fantasy. There's no connection to Keegan Klein. Don't pay attention to Keegan Klein. Don't worry about the Dropbox. There's nothing Keegan Klein. There's nothing about the Dropbox. Blah, 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 blah. But his Google searches, Richard Allen, his wife's going to leave him. He's molested his daughter. Da, 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 dead cat. Motorcycle cover. They did it. They did it. And every part of it can be proven because guess what? They like to say the internet's forever. Yes, it is. And you know what else is forever? Documenting as you go. Documenting as you go is forever because we made sure, and my whole circle around me, we've all made sure to document as we go. And it's still ongoing, actually. Um, Yeah, right, Radar. Immediately after they heard the opposite, they went and reported the opposite. So, but you know, that's what the troll. Listen, when I tell you this, I know you'll never understand it. The troll farm, literally, I'm not kidding you. Like, you got to understand, if there's anything I have my finger on the pulse of, it was the troll farm. Okay. They went full force with all of this. Okay. They went full force with all of this stuff until the first day of jury selection. I'm telling you, I remember because I was telling people behind the scenes. I was startled. I was shocked. I thought, why is it that they went from 100 to 0? I'm telling you, the first day of jury selection, Troll Farm goes silent. All the way throughout trial, all the way to sentencing. And since sentencing, they've been coming back. They're coming back. They're coming back. So it told me, uh-oh. See, I had noticed prior that they were consistently saying, oh, Prof is a bad actor. No, he's a bad actor. Those are bad actors. Rick Snane's a bad actor. They're trying to influence the future jurors. They're trying to contaminate the jury pool. And that told me, that's what they're concerned about. It's all projection. They're concerned about the contaminating the jury pool because that's their job. You see, that's why they stopped when jury selection began because the jury was sequestered. They were not going to consume any more YouTube or any more Facebook or anything. So they went full steam up until the day of jury selection. Then they shut the fuck up because job was done. Is it making sense to you now? I mean, that's how I understood it after is once sentencing was done and they came back, I realized, that's you see, this was all about influencing the potential future jurors. And that's why I understand now that it's a part of a larger concerted PR campaign. Um, that's what they do. All right. Anyway, I'm getting burned out now. I'm going to end it soon. Let's see. Mr. Baldwin had several objections sustained during the cross exam of the lead investigator, limiting his ability to challenge the investigation. See what I mean? See what I mean there? Every time McClellan objects, Gall sustains. So several objections against Baldwin, sustain, sustain, sustain. The effect was to limit his ability to challenge the investigation because he was limited in his ability to challenge the lead investigator. Now, good old Andre Burkhart believed the prosecution was trying to overwhelm the jury with volume rather than quality of evidence, and I agree, because they had no quality evidence. This is what, like, this is a case of sheer, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Volume rather than evidence. It's quality over quantity over quality, because they had no evidence whatsoever. They had no compelling evidence. So the way they pursued this was to do nothing, 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 innuendo, 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 finger pointing, nothing, 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 uh, obscure insinuation, blah 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 blah, nothing, 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 nothing. Sheriff Liggett acknowledged that Bree Wilbur described the man she saw as tall and muscular. Tall and muscular. Kind of like train guy, right? Like this is what I want you to think about. You go and listen to that description of train guy, right? The description of train guy is tall, muscular, like he could rip your arms off. That's how the guy said it. Kind of like Bridge Guy. He said he was an exact image of the old guy sketch. He looked like he could rip your arms off, kind of like these witnesses. All right, let's keep going. Liggett said the woods were too thick to see out to the roads. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. It's more so that the terrain makes it difficult to see the road as the terrain goes up and down here and there. But as far as the woods, are not that damn thick. You can see the roads like a motherfucker. Okay, let's be honest here. Let's keep going. No search was conducted to the west for discarded clothing, north of the farm or around the Hoosier Harvest Store property. Yeah, so basically they didn't look anywhere else, right? And as I've told you so many times, my theory is that whoever staged this scene just went toss clothes in the water to make it look like they had gone through the water. You know, I just see a perpetrator just carrying a bunch of clothes and just saying, "Hey, toss them in the creek." It's part of the staging. Sheriff Liggett acknowledged Sarah Carbo gave inconsistent statements about seeing muddy versus bloody. Anyhow, then they get into Rick Allen's car. Remember, what Liggett did was he turned 5 or 6 cars all into Richard Allen's car because that was necessary for this fantasy world narrative. Remember? He acknowledged that in the enhanced video, you can't see the mouth moving when down the hill is said. What? Sheriff Liggett became defensive when questioned about the pertinence of Richard Allen backing his car into a CVS lot 5 years after the crime. Yeah, because that's a whole gaslight too. That's a whole gaslight. Since when the fuck does backing into a spot versus pulling into a spot matter whatsoever? And like they can't prove their case. They're going to prove their case with backing into versus pulling into a spot. Rosie pointed out to Sheriff that eyewitnesses can be unreliable, a basic principle taught in the police academy. Rosie questioned Liggett about the lab telling them they would be able to match extractor marks to a SIG or Smith & Wesson gun early. Yes, remember when I told you they were looking for either a SIG or a Smith & Wesson that would produce marks. Let me ask you this. Isn't that broad? Any of you know firearms? Like, are you kidding me? They can't even narrow it down to a single gun, to a single model and make of a gun. It's either a Smith or it's a SIG. Come on. Liggett knew only of Blazer ammunition in the magazine on Richard's gun and no other 40 caliber Winchester ammunition in the house. Ooh, do you understand what that means? Is that true? Is it the case? So maybe I always missed that. Was there not even one other Winchester 40 caliber in Richard's house, period? So are they saying here that Richard had only Blazer ammunition at period? Someone help me, because I didn't. I might have missed that. I might have missed that, honestly. I thought he may have had or possibly had similar rounds at his residence to that Winchester that was found at the crime scene. Did he or did he not? I don't know. I'm just saying that, Harry, there's a whole world of a difference between Blazer ammunition, which is a hollow point. Uh, no, that's not true, Royal We. That's not. That was a. See, the one in the keepsake box was a hollow point. That's what I'm saying. We got to get the story straight here. The one in the keepsake box, as far as this transcript goes, was a hollow point. I don't know. I want to know. I want to know. I want to know what's going on with these rounds. Like I said, with these rounds, okay, and with this phone extraction of the phone that Libby was in possession of. What's up with that? Okay, that I think that's what we can take away from today's discussion. All right, so yes, but the round found at the scene is not a hollow point Winchester. I'm getting it. Okay, I'm getting it. So there's nothing but Blazers in the magazine of the gun. In the keepsake box is a hollow point Winchester, and at the crime scene is your standard Winchester 40 caliber round. Like what do we call that? I forget what we call it. Fuck. I'm tripping tonight, but so what we're saying is no, there's not almost. No. There's not almost. There's nothing almost about listen, because here's why it's not. Because you got to buy a whole separate box, right? You go to buy the ammo, it's a whole box that you're going to buy. Who says it's a hollow point Winchester? Where did you find that? That's at the crime scene. No, I'm not buying. See, I think there's confusion, and I'm not even going to contribute to the confusion. We need to get our shit together with the round at the scene that they claim versus the one in the keepsake box. Okay. Are they an identical match or not? Like, this should not be difficult. Do they come from the same type of box, or do you have to buy two separate boxes because there are differences? So I think that, like, that stuff, see, the fact that we don't have photos of it, we don't have facts about it, this is all bullshit. We're relying on people to relate to us. I'm not having it. It actually gets me upset. Okay, it gets me upset because I don't like talking about shit that I don't know about. And this is something we don't have a way to know about. I know what you're talking about, Michael Lewis. That's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about the specific round. You know, the specific round at the crime scene versus the specific round in the keepsake box that they say is similar or a match. Is it? There should be zero ambiguity about that. But the argument is not if it's planted or not. The argument is, first of all, before we start willy-nilly saying it's planted, is it the same or is it not the same? See, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. And I'm done discussing. I'm actually getting pissed off. I'm getting pissed off because it's stupid to go around in circles like this. The fact is, we need to know if it's an identical match or if it's not. Because here's a case. It's very unlikely. There's so many varieties. It's unlikely to be an identical match. But even if it is an identical match, that doesn't mean it came out of the identically same box. Okay, it could be a coincidence that it matches. These are mass-produced rounds. It could be planted, sure. It could be all kind of shit. Okay, there's a whole lot of could be, but for me, in order to even talk about it, we need to know what the fuck we're talking about. You know, we need to know what the fuck we're talking about. And so, what we really should be privy to are all the exhibits from trial. I mean, hey, you know what? I'm actually so pissed off. I'm done with this tonight. All right. Here's the point. We should already have the entire bevy of exhibits that are public, not under seal, from this court, and we don't. Just like we should also have the complete transcript for every single day of trial. So I guess I got pissed off. Yes, I've got pissed off now. Sorry. It is how it is. I'm pissed off about it. I'm done talking because I just feel like we're talking in stupid ass circles. I don't like it. I don't do it. I don't talk in circles. I don't make shit up. I don't make up excuses for people. If he killed the girls, he killed the girls. If it's his bullet, it's his bullet. That's the type of thing. Like I said, I'm not here to free Richard Allen. I'm not here to make up lies for Richard Allen. I'm not here to fantasize or make up anything. I'm here to talk about what we know about, what's true and what's obvious. And for me, the fact that we're even having this discussion is starting to piss me off because why don't we have receipts? You know, why don't we have receipts? As I mentioned, there's a very obvious reason. Okay. There's a very obvious reason we don't have receipts. This judge does not want to release a single thing until public interest has waned to a certain level, which she deems the minimal level at the maximal point with which she can withhold this stuff. And it's frustrating. And it's no one's fault. I'm not mad at anyone in the chat. I'm just telling you, I don't talk bullshit circles. So I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to blah, 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 blah. It's just we should be able to factually discuss this, and we can't even do so because it's all bullshit. Like, why do I need to rely on Burkhart coming out and telling me what happened, or anyone else out of that courtroom? Why do I need to rely on descriptions of shit from an unreliable human being who has been sitting in a courtroom for 6 hours, can't even remember what happened in the morning, who may have wrote something down the wrong way? I mean, it's stupid. It's really stupid. This is why the shit should have been televised in the first place. Is it not? She wanted this confusion, because with all of this confusion, it enables speculation and bullshittery and fucking filibustering, all the shit that I don't like. This is what this wall of secrecy enables. Good point, Jake. Good point. It wasn't visible. It wasn't in the camera. There are no photographs of it coming out of the ground. It's not in Ron Logan's PCA. It's not a big deal until they nab Rip. Yeah, you know what's funny, though? You know what is funny? If you go and look at that interview of Tobe Lesenby when he has that fucking round on his desk, which is a 40 caliber round, but it's not a hollow point. It's frustrating because what message was Lesenby sending with that 40 caliber round framed in between him and the camera intentionally? What message was being sent? It's sending a message, and anytime you send a message to someone, right? He knew what he was doing. So the question is, who are you sending that message to? All right. Well, yeah. Listen, I knew we wouldn't get through all that I wanted to, um, which means, damn, we're going to have at least 2 more episodes of this. So there'll be part 3 and likely a part 4. Um, yeah, but I also believe the bullet was probably planted. But that's neither here nor there because I want to know, I want to know what we're talking about. Um, but like I said, I am exhausted. I'm rather exhausted. It was a long day for me. Hey, it snowed. It snowed. So it was funny because I saw the storm coming in, and we were outside working, doing something. Me and my son were outside working. I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, surely we got a couple hours. Seriously, within 20 minutes, boom. Uh, it hit us hard. So we had to just quickly, quickly shuffle everything and open the garage, put everything in the garage, and do what we were, wrap up what we were doing like in a flash because we're getting dumped on with snow, dumped on, and we got everything hurry up in there. We're all getting soaked and blah 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 blah. And it's like, oh, it's freezing all of a sudden, and blah 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 blah. I put all that in there and run in the house, covered in it. Everything's covered in snow. Now it's in the garage, and then it's okay. Hit the garage door, and then I came in, and it's like, okay, hit the reset button. Now it's time to start getting ready for the show. So it's been a long day. I'm all exhausted and stuff. So I apologize if I'm a little short tempered. Jesus, this thing just drives me over the edge. You know, like I said, we're here for each other to have a good time, and we can't even talk about shit like friends and sane people because we've been gaslit so immensely that we can't even get facts to discuss that we want to be discussing. We can't even do a comparison between the fucking bullet that was in the keepsake box and the one that was at the crime scene. Why can we not do that? I mean, it's infuriating. And trust me, some of you dumb bitches out there are going to take a clip of me saying something in tonight's show, and it might be, I'm not here for Richard Allen. You're going to take a clip of that, and then you're going to send it to everyone who's obsessed about Richard Allen and only talk about Richard. Blah, 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 blah. Send it to everyone, especially people that I like and who like me. And you're going to say, see, Prof doesn't care about Richard Allen. He's a bad guy. It's what you do. It's what you do. It's what you old ratchet bitches do. And so I anticipate that because I made that statement, somebody's going to take that and run with it. So go ahead. I give you permission. Take the clip and go send it to all the people who you want to turn against me and feed them that line as if context doesn't matter, as if I haven't sat here for hundreds of hours and gone through every single filing in detail, criticizing every single aspect of it and standing up for this man's constitutional rights, which were clearly violated. But you're not going to clip that part. No, you're going to clip the other part. Okay. Anyway, sorry to go off on a tangent, guys. I'm not trying to trigger anyone. I just got triggered myself because I hate that we can't even discuss a bullet because we're being kept in the dark, right? And guess who's still collecting a paycheck? You want to get mad? Okay. Here's what makes you mad. Guess who's still collecting a paycheck? Francis Gull. Toe Blesenby, Melissa Oberg, Nick McClelland, I don't know, Tony Liggett, Monica Walla. Come on, feed me the names. Brian Harshman. Everybody who's participating in this is still collecting a paycheck on taxpayer dollars. Thank you. It's a God thing. Thank you so much. It's a God thing. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. I need some coffee. Actually, coffee might calm me down right now because my blood's boiling. My blood's boiling because I can't even talk about the bullets. But like I said, they're afraid of it. They're afraid of releasing it because listen, you know, when those exhibits come out, you know we're going to be able to do the A-B comparisons. In other words, we're going to be able to take these photos of these extraction marks on the rounds and compare them, and we're going to do our own criticism of this whole endeavor, right? We'll be able to do that, and you know it. And that's what they're afraid of. That's what they're afraid of. Same with all the videos, all the photos, all the witness testimony, everything that they're withholding. They know that you, me, and all of us together, we're going to dissect it. We're going to obsessively go through it, critique the hell out of it, and tear it apart. And that's why they're withholding it. Oh, Holman. Yeah, he's getting a check. Like I said, they're all getting checks. And hey, Doug Carter's getting retirement, right? Doug Carter's getting his retirement. Everybody's getting paid who lied over this case. And the ballpark's still pulling the funds. You know, the ballpark's pulling the money. What's up, Leba Love? I just wrote the warden of Pendleton and will send it to him by certified mail in the morning. What's up, Leba Love? Ooh. Gallipo, Horman. What's up, Mark Ellis? Thank you for the super chat. Mark Ellis sponsoring the show tonight. Mark Ellis and Is a God Thing. Thank you, Mark Ellis and Is a God Thing. And who else contributed early? I think Mr. Tripper. So there's someone named Tripper who became a member. Well, thank you, Mark Ellis. Coffee make me calm. Yeah, I need to get off. I need to get off and drink a coffee to calm down. God damn. Well, you know what? I've decided. All right, announcement. Uh, we're doing another surprise show with Silky. Okay, we'll do it. We're doing another surprise show with Silky. So you guys will have a treat, and that'll be a visit from Silky. Okay. So hopefully you guys will be happy with that. I'm super happy with Silky anytime, all the time, talking to Silky. Okay. Ooh, pardon. Yeah, Low Prof is ready for me. Thank you. Thank you, Deb. He's ready for me. That's why I'm gonna get off of here. But good point, pertinent. Good point. But we'll get Silky on, okay? I don't know if it's tomorrow or the next day. Very, very soon. Very, very soon we'll do Silky. And then we'll get back to this series because we're doing a little like I said, I believe unfortunately we'll have to do 2 more of these to get through it all. But we'll do Silky probably next. And then that's it. Yeah, I like Silky because she's bubbly. Right? All right. It's a surprise, right? It's a surprise. What if I tell you it's April Fool's? April Fool's, no Silky. No Silky. No Silky for you. No Silky for you. Okay. Cromley says, hit the thumbs up, please. Hit the thumbs up. All right. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up. All right. Let's see. We got I saw I have Apophis here. Let me put his comment up here. I want to not pass him up. Let's see. I'm telling you, my blood is boiling from this. I got unfortunately I got upset tonight. I seem to do that often. I'm trying not to do it. I'm really trying not to do it. It's hard not to do it. Look at this case, dude. All right, where's this eye of Apophis? Boom. There you go. Okay, gotcha. Most feds and other law enforcement use hollow points. They're sold in a box of 50. You know. All right, who am I missing here? My face is red because I'm pissed. I'm literally got pissed. I think when I was talking with Phoenix, And who else was it? I was talking about the bullet. I lost my temper. Okay. Who else was it? I forget. They probably left because I pissed them off by yelling at them. But no, we were we we're all arguing over the bullet. But it's stupid that we even have to have this argument. Can we just have, like, if you did the right thing? Here's my statement to Judge Gall specifically, and McClellan or whoever the fuck else. But she's the one in control, right? Judge Gall, if you did the right thing, release all the exhibits and the transcripts. Release all the evidence. If you did the right thing, release the evidence. You feel so good about what you've done. Is that too much to ask for? I mean, how good do you feel? It was Royal We. Okay, Royal We, and Phoenix and me bumping heads over the stupidity of having to guess about what the fuck we're even talking about. You did the right thing. Release it all. Release it all. What are you afraid of? Criticism? All right. All right. So sorry. All right, y'all. So, we got what's it's a God thing. Are we going to still be here another 10 years? Is this the new JFK? Mm-hmm. I think it is. I think it is. I mean, look, it's a monumental cover up. Okay, this is a Barry job. This is a cover up. If you don't think it's a cover up, sorry, it's a cover up. This is absolutely a cover up. Listen, stop doubting yourselves. Remember, every time I say, if you've ever doubted yourself, I can heal all your doubts and solve all your doubts in one phrase, and that is, "Dat be a gun." Okay, because every time you start to doubt yourself, just go back to reality, hit the reset button, and say, "You had a sheriff take the stand and say that girl said that be a gun in order to railroad an individual." And all you have to do is listen for yourself and see what was actually said. What was actually said? I don't know. Let's see. I wrote it down. See, this is the path that we go down. So when in doubt, hear it out. It's not that be a gun, which means it is a cover up. They've lied from day one. They've deleted and erased and destroyed and bullied and harassed and killed. And they even took the stand and lied. Anyway, I love you all. And of course, I love Silky. And we'll see her next, hopefully. We'll be with her. And whoa, what else? What else can I say? Thank you, everyone, especially big shout out to Mark for the Mark Ellis for the support tonight. And is a God thing. And welcome to the membership, Mr. Tripper. All right, so we out here. All right, hug your kids, hug your wives, love each other. Don't let this eat you up, right? Focus on the truth, focus on what matters. And hey, hopefully we'll see you guys later. I know I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my night, okay? And my day tomorrow. So hopefully you do too. I love you guys. Nice to see everybody in the chat.